Now, I have a meeting with a group of people who are concerned about vaccination. Sorry, I have to talk about vaccination these few rounds because a lot of things are developing in this, and especially a lot of my friends are very concerned. My group of friends, because they're concerned about MOH, keep asking people to vax. Right? Well, they can rightfully ignore because they are not vaccinating themselves. Why should they care people go and vax and take the risk? Right? And this group of people that I met, I think yesterday, they come from different backgrounds. Scientists, researchers, doctors, activists, from different religion, free thinker, Buddhists like me, Christians, right, Catholic, Baptist, Protestant, and all that. But we have one thing in common. We are very concerned about the situation right now because, as I said, they have started to push for the vax again. Now, people say we are anti-vax. We are not anti-vax. Right? In fact, all these doctors, right, they have been trained in all their life about modern medicine, about vaccine. I'm not anti-vax. I'm definitely not anti-vax. Right? In fact, I was one of the very first that hoped that an effective vaccine will be developed so that we can walk out of the COVID situation. But unfortunately, it's neither effective nor safe, in my opinion. Right? People can say anything about it, but I told the group that I'm not anti-vax. I only follow the data because I'm trained in statistics. Right? Whatever people claim, don't believe so easily. Check the data. If there's something for you to check, like the data, then we check. We look at the data, the first 3 months, you already failed. When you start to fail your narrative, the very first narrative, then you have to pause and think, do they actually know what they are doing? Right? And they keep changing the narrative. Right? Efficacy, 95% efficacy is rubbish, so they throw away. Now they say, oh, we have never said that, but it's wrong. They have said that. But if you take the vaccine, most likely you will not get COVID. But many people by now should know that that's bupake. Right? So they have changed the narrative. Oh, you will prevent you from serious illness and all that. How true is that? Right? We will go through. Right? Now, just recap. My People's Power Party, right? Me and my colleague, I've come up with this press statement, right? And it created a lot of big hoo-ha. The expert that we have listed, right? The citation that we have put up, and people start to attack. But comes back from MOH didn't want to directly respond to us. Right? Didn't want to. Right after my last live chat in English, that's on Wednesday when we released the press statement. Okay. A supporters actually wrote to me late in the night, right? It was past midnight, right? I think near to 1 o'clock, something like that. Apparently, she has to put up her views, very strong views about that, right? And she wrote to me in confidential. So for everyone's benefit, I have seek her approval, and she said can put up her message without her name, right? She still wants to preserve her job, so to speak, right? We have put it up. I put it up because it is important for people to understand that they are not alone when they are facing these problems. So he said, the first message, vaccine destroy the body immunity. I've been saying this since the introduction of the vaccine because of my own family has suffered tremendously. Right? That is from her experience. Nobody can take away what she experienced. And she continues to say, right, that I actually asked her, why would you want to say, what happened to your family? Okay, what actually happened to your family? And she revealed, right, although I'm half asleep, I must admit, she just revealed that, well, two of them, that means two of her family members, got cancer, one stage 4, one died, both stage 4, very fast. One died and the other has only 2 to 3 months to survive. And her daughter suffered terrible asthma attack. She stopped her mom from taking the 3rd dose because she knew that it is not going to work. And rightfully, I have said also, as early as April, May, late April, we already know it didn't work to prevent infection or transmission. I will come back to this about early treatment protocol. Most of the so-called labeled anti-vaxxer doctors, they have the same view as me. Early treatment protocol is more important than the vaccine. Right? And she said, let's come back to this. She said, I even stopped my office colleague who not to take the 3rd dose, but she insisted on taking the 3rd dose. I warned her that you will get cancer. She didn't believe. After the 3rd dose, a few months or a year later, she was diagnosed with cancer. I come back to this cancer thing. Since MOH have responded to the heart attack and the stroke with a myth and fact again, right? I'll talk about this later. Let's see whether they respond. They definitely respond. They have been monitoring my my Facebook very earnestly, right? Then she believes, what's the point? She has to go through the cancer treatment unnecessarily. I hope that the colleague can recover, right? That's why she has the same belief as me. Our body immunity matters, nothing else matters. Right? She tried to stop her husband from taking the 3rd dose, but he didn't listen. He took it and I told him to monitor within a year or so because high chance he will get heart attack. And yes, true, he got heart attack after a year. But luckily he survived and got discharged from hospital after 2 weeks. He regretted taking the 3rd dose. This is the one that MOH responded, the vaccine didn't cause heart attack and all that. I don't know when. I'll come back to this. What I can see is that those affected are the 3rd dose and onwards. And for me, as early as the 1st dose and 2nd dose, when they push for it, there are already signals, but MOH refused to acknowledge that signals. Right? Now. So what did the MOH come up with? This myth or facts. It says, myth, COVID-19 vaccine can cause heart attack and stroke. It's still exist, He have MOH have POFMA me twice, I think. One about a doctor, right, who has a sudden stroke, right? I'm not sure whether she survived or not. Right? The other one is a gentleman who was very healthy, cycling around, but shortly after the first jab or second jab, I can't remember, right? He just died suddenly on the sofa. And they claim that after autopsy, they have found that it has nothing to do with the vaccine. I was POFMA for that, right? Now, the fact, he says, right, COVID-19 mRNA vaccines now they say mRNA vaccine, very specific, are safe. How safe? Myocarditis? Can myocarditis affect heart attack? Heart attack is a very common name, right? That means it's cardio problems, heart issues that will cause sudden death by inflammation of the heart. And there is no clear or consistent, I say no clear or consistent evidence that they cause an increased risk of heart attack or stroke. No clear or consistent. It doesn't mean that there are no evidence. Playing with words again. There's no clear or consistent evidence. Consistent evidence. May or may not be, they are not sure. Right? That they cause an increased risk of heart attack. I'll come back to this later. Or stroke. Heart attacks and strokes usually result from blockage of the heart or brain vessels. Right. That's correct. No doubt about that. They are associated with long-term blood vessel changes that occur with age and chronic diseases such as high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Yes, in the normal circumstances, yes, that is true, right? These are not to be confused with myocarditis or pericarditis, which is an inflammation of the heart or heart lining. Such serious adverse events are very rare. I hope so, but that is not what Dr. Peter McCullough have said. In the past, it is very rare, right? But Dr. Peter McCullough have actually stated that after the vaccination came, he has seen more than double, triple, or many more patients with myocarditis than his past 20 years of practice. Is it still rare? I do not know. But that is from the Ministry of Health. Now, I'm going to go through this. Just now I said blood clot, right? This is very awesome. This is taken from Dr. John Campbell's podcast. He was interviewing some of the doctors and embalmers, right? Those who are in charge of dead bodies, right? Clean the dead bodies and all that. What is this? The white thing, got a bit of blood stain on that. Not only one, not only two, but many funeral directors have come out to say that they have found, ever since the COVID vaccine have been introduced, they have found people dead, right, with this. These are actually veins with blood clot, fiber blood clots, very rubbery, right? Very irks and rubbery, right? It's taken from the body like that. They took it out from the body. They have not seen anything like this before. It's only many of those who are dealing with dead bodies embalmers. I don't know how to pronounce it have reported this in UK, in US, in Europe. They have seen this. These are blood clots, and the blood clots are very unique, all rubbery. If you watch Charlene Lin's, our own Charlene Lin's in Singapore, she had mentioned before, 1 or 2 years after her problems with the vaccination, right, which actually immobilized her for quite some time after she actually started slowly to recover, right, she found herself to have blood clot as well. It's really irks. Now, look back at this. It said about blood clot. Now, these blood clots are said to happen more in older people, but it's also found in people under 60 years old, also 50 plus. Just now. So remember this thing about blood heart attack and strokes are caused by blood clot, right? Right? Either at the heart or the brain, right? In the normal circumstances, yes, it is caused by high cholesterol, hypertension, blah, blah, blah. But my question is very simple. If we are having people, dead person, who are found to have such blood clot, awesome, right? Blood clot like that, could it be possible that this blood clot also happens to the heart or even in the brain? There are so many narratives that have been changed throughout the years by the establishment expert. I'm not saying it's certain. It might be caused by virus infection also. Later I will come to that. Right? But the spike protein is definitely not malign. Right? It's actually toxic, or rather they call it pathogen. It's no longer what they start to claim initially, that it's actually botai spike protein only. Right? Not a serious thing. It is a serious thing. Slowly they have found that it is very serious. How serious it is? It causes blood clot, spike protein, whether it's an AstraZeneca or otherwise. Because AstraZeneca is also presumed. They found that the spike protein causes blood clot. And just now those pictures I've shown you, right? Some of them are caused in Europe, which actually use in UK, which actually use AstraZeneca. It might be there, but it is also mentioned in one of the videos, right? I actually put up the videos. I have no time to download before I come to this live chat. It is also causing blood clot. Okay. So how sure are we at this moment that blood clot don't happen at the heart to cause heart attack, or in our brain to cause stroke by the mRNA vaccine? You won't find the evidence. You are reluctant and you do not want to find any, or you do not know how to find such thing. In fact, a year ago, right, a German professor have done autopsies on many dead bodies, right, suspected to be vaccine-induced death, and he confirmed that over 70% of them, not all, over 70% of them actually, right, very likely to be caused by the vaccine they have taken. It was published as a research papers, peer-reviewed, but unfortunately, this professor, after giving a very long, lengthy interview, right, was dead a few days or a few weeks later in an accident. Right? So if you are talking about blood clots seems to be the common denominator in these cases, whether it's strokes or heart attack, right? But a lot of observation made, and I believe some of the research paper. I have to look through the research paper. I think I saw some of the research paper have mentioned that mRNA or the spike proteins can cause blood clots, micro blood clots some more. Right? Nevertheless, since MOH like that, bo tai chi one, right? You're going to take nothing to do the heart attack, the brain, the brain blood clots or the strokes are nothing to do with the vaccine. Or the PAP members, ministers especially, Lee Hsien Loong and Madam Ho Ching, right? The ministers like those above 60s, Shanmugam, All of you, including Lawrence Wong, also about my age, right? Please go and take your next jab and show us that we have done so. Right? Because your MOH say, no problem, don't be afraid. Lead the way, but I will not follow you. Let's see whether other Singaporeans follow you or not. Or else, I will continue to call PAP the People's Acting Party. Not Action Party, it's Acting Party. No action at all. Right? Now, I've shown you that so these are more lengthy one, that some supporters will actually private message me. But I tell you, we are the people with high spiritual learning, or I would say a certain enlightened, spiritually enlightened. Whether you are Christian, whether you are free thinker, atheist, right? Whether you are Buddhist, as long as we are spiritually enlightened, our concern is never just about ourselves. People who are looking at things, looking at issues, who are always mindful about other people's welfare and well-being, they will be blessed by their own God, by their own Buddha, or by the Holy Spirit, or by the angels. Right? They will see what other people, normal people, will not see. They would have a leap of vision. I don't call it a leap of faith. Right? A leap of vision to understand things very quickly that other people may not have the ability to digest. It's nothing to do with intelligence. I can assure you it's nothing to do with intelligence. Right? It's about wisdom. Wisdom gained by the spirituality through enlightenment. Right? So the group of people that I've met are highly spiritually speaking, they are highly enlightened. Right? They are more concerned about other people than themselves. And the humanity at large. Right? If you actually ask around those so-called anti-vax people, right, we have nothing to gain to go against the vaccination. What can you gain? People give you free vaccine you don't want to take. You want to so-called risk your life with a COVID infection. People say we are crazy. Actually, we have nothing to gain. But we manage to see something is not right. For some reason, our construct of vision, of understanding, of looking at things are very different from other people. Right? I believe we are blessed in some ways, Right? And I actually told the group in a very simple way, if your narratives have to keep changing every time, with all different reasons and excuses, it either means that you don't even know the truth at all, or you are trying very hard to hide something, to hide the truth. It's very simple. There's no other explanation for the change of narratives. Keep going, changing. I explained how many narratives they have changed from the masking. Very simple, right? Universal masking. They tell us not to wear the mask, no use, or be normal, blah, 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 right? But eventually they have to change, right? So, do they actually know about the truth before they ask us not to wear the mask? But the narrative change. Or they're just plain ignorant. With all the experts they have, they are just plain ignorant. But I've said that before. If they ask, if even their own doctors in the hospital and all that wear masks for many other reasons, right? Why are they asking other people not to wear the mask? Very simple. It's a very simple logical. You do not need to be an expert to understand it. You do not need to have high intelligence to understand it. You just observe what people say and what people do. If it doesn't tally, it means something is not right. Just like PAP and that, asking people go and jab, but their own people never show that they have all jab up to date. Right? 听其言观其行. If what you say and what you do doesn't tally, it means something is very wrong. So don't be a people's acting party. Be a people's action party, please. Right? So the second thing I told them is very simple. Right? We are actually in the midst of a psychological warfare. Right? We are very worried about this, worried about that. Some of them are actually because of the religious belief. They believe that this might be the works of the devil. Please, that. I don't get involved in that because I'm a Buddhist. Right? I'm a Buddhist. But I see to that the priority that we have to do right now is to make available all information and meet people who are at the moment 80% who are vax hesitant. They are not anti-vax, definitely. They have taken the vax, but they are hesitant to take the following vax because they are saying something is not right. They feel something is not right, or they feel that no need already. Right? COVID is so mild. Why should I take? Correct? It's logical, perfectly logical. Right? But there are also people like the friend that comes out to give me all the narrative of what happened to a family and her friends. And I've said, in Malaysia, there's someone, a political commentator. She was saying that she has faced 11 deaths in the past 5 months. And she had to pause her work for a while to grieve and to overcome. Now, I'm going to do this in a psychological warfare. A lot of people are very mixed after they read my party's press release. There are many people who are already decided not to take. They know what they are doing, but a lot of people are torn. They are unsure what they have seen around them. People dying, people have double cancer, people have cancer, and all that, sudden death, and all that. Is it only isolated cases to them or what? Right? Now, I'm going to do this. Tell MOH your concerns about this vaccination through a video campaign. I'm calling out to all the people. Right? You can continue to send me all your concern through the messages. But if you are willing, do a short video. Right? Use your phone to do a short video. Just inside a video, you can put on a mask. You do not want them to come after you. Or put on a mask with sunglasses. As long as people knows that you are not AI, not computer generated, you are a genuine person who want to show concern to your fellow citizens and fellow human beings. Right? Tell your story. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm just a layman, right? I'm so and so, Mary, right? Vincent, whoever you are, don't need to give full name. Right? Just say, I've met with so many people having problems with COVID vaccines, suspected COVID vaccine injury or sudden death, whether it's strokes or heart attack, or died from cancer or having terrible cancer problems. And with the excess death data we have facing right now in Singapore, we believe that the vaccination program should actually pause, and all the data have to be reviewed before we take another step forward. Once you have done that, you just sign it to me. I'm going to do a compilation. Writing is important because we are having a smear campaign after my party's press release. They try to ignore, they try to ignore officially in the mainstream media, but MOH actually responded in another way, right? But they send their IBs immediately. They come and whack us, right? Discredit one of the most prestigious cardiologists in the world. He has over 1,000 publications, widely cited by other researchers, right, in the past. Over 1,000. I don't think our own experts have that much publication. That's simple. So many people have cited his work. And people say he's anti-vax, not credible, like giving misinformation just because he doesn't sing to the tune of the COVID vaccination. He believes strongly that we should, as I do, that we have to.
It's an honor and privilege to
we have to go through early treatment protocol. It is the first thing that we should have done. Instead of not giving any medicine or treatment in the very early stage, or just leave the patient out there, let the situation deteriorate and start to see how many people die, and wait for the vaccine and just jab them. That is not the way. He believes in early treatment protocol. So do I. I told you, he got into trouble because of his promoting early treatment protocol, which is very cheap treatment protocol. I got into trouble because of the same thing. Okay? Now,
it's an honor and privilege to.
I'm going to show you the next video, right? Dr. Peter McCullough has been giving testimonial. He was invited because he's a very prestigious top professionals in his field, his specialized field. He was even awarded or selected for the awards for the Lifetime Achievement Award for the International Association of Top Professionals, right? And people in Singapore want to say that he's a crack. He's by having this big pharma, the smearing campaign is terrible. It's terrible. It's coordinated by a big pharma and a big tech. Right? I'm going to show you the next one, what he has done in the European hearing.
It's an honor and privilege to have Dr. Peter McCullough from Texas in the United States of America with us today. Thank you. He is an internist, cardiologist, epidemiologist holding degrees from Baylor University, University of Texas Southwestern Medical School, University of Michigan, and Southwestern Methodist University. He manages common infectious diseases as well as the cardiovascular complications of both the viral infection and the injuries developing after the COVID-19 injections. in Dallas, Texas, USA. Dr. Peter McCullough has broadly published on a range of topics in medicine with over 1,000 publications and 685 citations in the National Library of Medicine. Dr. McCullough testified multiple times in the U.S. Senate and many state houses on aspects of the pandemic response. Dr. McCullough has had years of dedicated academic and clinical efforts in combating the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and in doing so has reviewed thousands of reports, participated in scientific congresses, group discussions, press releases, and has been considered among the world's experts on COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction, and thanks for all the warm greetings today. Thanks to Ms. Anderson, members of Parliament, and ladies and gentlemen. As introduced, I'm Dr. Peter McCullough. I'm a practicing internist, a cardiologist, and epidemiologist, and I've been completely dedicated since the onset of the pandemic to doing everything I can to help each and every patient. These are my observations, and this is my analysis. There have been two waves of injury to the world. The first has been the SARS-CoV-2 infection, which preyed upon the frail and the elderly. And then the second wave of injury now has been the COVID-19 vaccines. The role of the WHO appears to be adverse in both of these. The role of the WHO appears to be operating within a biopharmaceutical complex, a syndicate, a complicated syndicate that has formed over time. It includes the WHO, the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, the Gates Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, the Wellcome Trust, Gavi, CEPI, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness and Innovation, that Gates Foundation and the WEF formed largely. The Department of State in the United States, the National Institutes of Health, the CDC, the FDA, the MHRA in the UK, TGA in Australia, SAFRA in South Africa, the EMA here in Europe. This grouping of non-governmental organizations with governmental public health agencies is operating as a unit. They're carefully coordinated, and the impact has been adverse. At the outset of the pandemic, there was an investigation by the WHO on the origins of SARS-CoV-2. That's when the beginning of the cover-up began. Rear Admiral Brett Gerard in the United States nominated 3 independent scientists to go to Wuhan and figure out what was going on. We knew at that time, and this has all come out in congressional hearings, that Anthony Fauci, Francis Collins, Jeremy Farrar, who was at the Wellcome Trust, who's now the chief scientist at the WHO, Christian Anderson at Scripps, Edwin Holmes in Sydney, Peter Daszak at the EcoHealth Alliance. They all conspired in January of 2020 to cover up what they knew, that the virus was engineered in a joint U.S.-Chinese collaboration in the lab in Wuhan, China. And they deceived the world with 12 subsequent fraudulent papers in the peer-reviewed literature. These were quarterbacked by Jeremy Farrar, who is the chief scientist at the WHO. This is all in the series of reports in the House Select Committee in the United States by the U.S. Congress, led by Representative Brad Wenstrup. The WHO has played an adverse role from the very beginning, deceiving the world on the origins of SARS-CoV-2. Doctors like us in clinical practice got behind on this because our governments and agencies like the WHO weren't honest with us. And instead of helping us, or at least getting out of the way in terms of treating patients and saving lives, they got in the way and they impeded our ability to treat patients. They effectively created an entire environment of therapeutic nihilism. There are only 2 things that prevented hospitalization and death. One was early treatment, early on, and then the second was to acquire natural immunity with the first episode of the infection. Nothing else worked. There are only 2 bad outcomes, hospitalization and death. To this day, the WHO does not support, embrace, or promulgate early treatment protocols for patients with acute COVID-19. That should tell you something. That should be a wake-up call. We're going on 3 years of this. 3 years of this. And still nothing to reduce human suffering from the WHO. Nothing. In fact, efforts that enhance human suffering. Because the first wave was the illness. And I've testified in the U.S. Senate multiple times, the majority of hospitalizations and deaths were completely avoidable in the highest risk patients with early intervention, starting with virucidal nasal sprays and gargles, and then intravenous and oral drugs administered at home to get people through the illness. Now enter the vaccines. Since 2021, the vaccines have ravaged the population in the world. Worldwide, 2/3 of people took a vaccine. The United States COVID Community State Study shows 75% of Americans took a vaccine. Thankfully, 25% didn't. I was the only public health and public figure in the United States in writing to question the vaccines before they came out. And I did it as loudly as I could. The COVID-19 vaccines in the United States, 94% of Americans took a messenger RNA vaccine. It is the genetic code for the potentially lethal spike protein part of the virus. It was the worst idea ever to install the genetic code by injection and allow unbridled production of a potentially lethal protein in the human body for an uncontrolled duration of time. Everything we've learned about the vaccines since they've come out is horrifying. There's not a single study showing that the messenger RNA is broken down because it's pseudo-uridinated, it's made synthetically. It cannot be broken down. There's not a study showing it leaves the body. We now have papers by Castriuta who demonstrates that messenger RNA is circulating for a month. That's as long as they've looked. We have the spike protein, the lethal protein from the vaccines, found in the human body after vaccination, circulating at least for 6 months, if not longer. And if people take an injection another 6 months, there's another installation in more circulating, potentially lethal protein. The spike protein is proven in 3,400 peer-reviewed manuscripts to cause 4 major domains of disease. One is cardiovascular disease, heart inflammation or myocarditis. Every regulatory agency agrees the vaccines cause myocarditis. I'm a cardiologist. Before COVID, for years, we've had guidelines in cardiology. When there is myocarditis, whether it's symptomatic or not, people cannot exert themselves in athletics. It will cause a cardiac arrest. And yet, across Europe and across the United States, sports leagues were injecting young people who had no medical necessity, no clinical indication with these vaccines, and we have seen a montage of cardiac arrests in young individuals. I'm telling you as an expert cardiologist, these cardiac arrests are due to the COVID-19 vaccine until proven otherwise. They are. Other cardiovascular diseases caused by the vaccine proven. Acceleration of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease and heart attacks or cardiovascular arrest. Posterior orthostatic tachycardia syndrome or POTS, or people passing out due to low blood pressure. You've seen montages of people in the media, one after another, passing out like you've never seen before. It is the vaccine until proven otherwise. Aortic dissection, atrial fibrillation, other arrhythmias. Cardiac arrest in the absence of myocarditis has been described with the COVID-19 vaccines. The cardiovascular domain of damage in the human body from the vaccine is substantial, more than anything we've ever seen with cholesterol, high blood pressure, or diabetes. The second major domain is neurologic disease, stroke, both ischemic and hemorrhagic, Guillain-Barré syndrome, ascending paralysis that can lead to death, which has led to death with messenger RNA vaccines, agreed to by all of our regulatory agencies, small fiber neuropathy, numbness and tingling, ringing in the ears, headaches. These are common. Third major domain, blood clots. Blood clots like we've never seen before. The spike protein is the most thrombogenic protein we've ever seen in human medicine. It's found in the blood clots. The spike protein causes blood clots. Blood clots larger and more resistant to blood thinners than we've ever experienced in human medicine. I have patients with blood clots now going on 2 years, and they are not dissolving with conventional blood thinners due to these vaccines. We can't get these out of the body. We can't get the messenger RNA or the spike protein out of the body as is continually produced. Fourth and last domain, immunologic abnormalities. Vaccine-induced thrombotic thrombocytopenia and multisystem inflammatory disorder are early acute syndromes, well described, published. They have their own acronyms, all agreed to by the regulatory agencies. So all of you in the room and all of you listening online are asking, is it me? Is it my family member? Is it my loved one? Who is going to be the next person to drop after a vaccine? We've seen cardiac arrest now 2 years after these shots. 2 years. I'm the senior author on the largest autopsy study ever assembled of death after COVID-19 vaccination, worldwide. We searched the literature, 600 papers, all the clinical findings. We reviewed them with contemporary knowledge, experts in pathology and clinical medicine. Our conclusion, 73.9% of the deaths after vaccination are due to the vaccine. They are due to the vaccine. When it's suspected myocarditis, in the second paper, of which I'm the senior author, it's 100% of the time. It's due to the vaccine. Not COVID, respiratory illness, the vaccine. We are seeing now a third false narrative. The first false narrative was the virus is unassailable, we have to stay in lockdown and be fearful. The second false narrative is take a vaccine, it's safe and effective. The third false narrative now is it's not the vaccine causing these problems, it's COVID. It's COVID that we saw back in 2020 causing all these problems in 2023. Don't fall for the false narrative. The medical literature at this point in time is compelling. The Bradford-Hill criteria for causality have been fulfilled. The vaccines are causing this enormous wave of illness. Now, could it be you or your family member? A few important papers to finish. One is by Schmeling and colleagues from Denmark, demonstrating that about 30% of people who have taken a vaccine have zero side effects, nothing, not even a sore arm, not even a sensation that anything happened with the injection. Those people appear to be fine forever, as if they didn't take a shot. And the data are the same in the United States in our VAERS system. The second batch group is about 70% of individuals, and they have some moderate side effects, some trouble, but they don't seem to really have serious events. And then there's a small third batch group, 4.2% in the Schmeling data. It's through the roof. Myocarditis, cardiac arrest, blood clots, hemorrhagic stroke, disabilities, sudden death at home in bed. And the data are the same in the United States. 4.2% of people in Europe right now are in trouble because they were unlucky enough to get a high-risk batch. In the United States, our CDC vSafe data, which is self-reported data, 10 million Americans, the number is 7.7% got so sick with the shot they had to go to the hospital and be treated or be hospitalized. A Zogby survey done about a year ago, a big representative sample in the United States, found 15% of those who took a vaccine have some medical problem that they're dealing with right now. So again, 4.2%, 7.7%, 15%, that's the penumbra. That is the Venn diagram that you're all going to be involved in the calculus. What's the path forward? The path forward is clearly for no one to take another shot. No one. Now, the World Council for Health, which is a multinational, evidence-based physician and healthcare provider organization, on June 11th, 2022, issued a pharmacovigilance report looking at 39 safety databases, including the WHO VisiSafe and the EMA databases and the US databases. And their conclusion was to remove all the COVID-19 vaccines off the market for excess risk of death. Excess risk of death. Okay? On the floor of the U.S. Senate, December 7th of 2022, I co-moderated a session, and our expert panel, by assent in the U.S. Senate, concluded all the COVID-19 vaccines should be removed from the market, all of them. No new boosters. And then in March 23rd of 2023, the Association of American Physician and Surgeons, a factual, fact-based, evidence-based, consensus-driven organization, just like the two others, also concluded to remove the vaccines from the market. So I submit to you the COVID-19 vaccines and all of their progeny and future boosters are not safe for human use. I implore you, as a governing body, European Medicine Agency, to apply all pressure and due urgency to remove the COVID-19 vaccines from market. In the United States, it's going jurisdiction by jurisdiction, probably state by state will remove them off the market if the federal government doesn't do so. It's going to happen. It's going to happen all over the world. The WHO is standing behind these vaccines. They are far more of a problem than a help to the European Union. And it's my belief that the European Union, the United States, and all major stakeholders should actually completely pull out of the WHO and leave the WHO to its own endeavors, not to have any jurisprudence, any dominion over what we do in healthcare. WHO will never have dominion over what I do as
You know the serious challenge that's posed by anti-vaxxers, and I think we need to strategize to really push back, because vaccines work, vaccines affect adults, and we have science evidence on our side. I think it's time to be more aggressive in pushing back on anti-vaxxers. I think they use COVID as an opportunity, and all the havoc they're creating. Maybe that's one of the messages also I'd like to include to whatever I have said.
Sorry, I just found that I didn't on the mic just now. Let me repeat this. Right. So it's a battle. We have been smart. People like Peter McCullough, anyone in Singapore who stood up and says we should pause the vaccination program are being smirked, are being trolled, right? Our reputation is being overstepped, being ignored totally by the mainstream media. And that was WHO chief saying. The anti-vaxxers are like someone who have a grouch against them. But do we have anything to gain from all this? Only for our spiritual practice. Because anyone who really practice our spiritual path will always be concerned about our fellow human beings. And in fact, Peter McCullough, that's what I was saying, right? He was threatened by the American medical board, right? Who do the medical certification for doctors to practice. They need that certificate, right? They want to actually deny him, to take away from him his right to practice. And this is not uncommon. Such practice have been done to other doctors who stood up and says that we want to use early treatment protocol to treat our patient, but they were stopped. And those who stood up and said we do not want the vaccine because the vaccine doesn't work. Anyone who said anything bad about vaccine that contradicts the establishment and the big pharma, whom incidentally have been changing their narrative all along, right? As I said, if anyone who change narrative every time, keep changing narrative with all different type of reasoning and excuses, either they do not know the truth or they trying to hide the truth. Right? And they are in power. They use their power to persecute all these people. And in Singapore, it's the same. You remember, in the early part of the vaccination program, 12 doctors actually came out and signed a declaration, a letter, to urge the MOH to actually not to go for a mass inoculation because the vaccine is not proven to be safe and nor effective. Because it's a very new technology that have not been proven to be safe in any medical products, gene therapy products, yet. But they want us to believe that within 6 months they have solved all the problems and is effective and safe. Right? But what did MOH did? It threatened the doctors, and 10 of the doctors actually withdrew from that letter, open letter. It's not by their own free will, I can tell you that. Right? I was told that they will be threatened. Threatened by what? Their rice bowl. What is the rice bowl? It's the same in America. To take off your license or your certification to practice as a doctor, and they will lose income. That's how they treat people who don't toe their line. And this is not science. Science is not like this. Science is always the path of constant debates and seeking the truth. To do all the tests, right? It's not censorship. Censorship is never used to protect the truth. The truth doesn't need censorship because the truth will eventually outshine. The truth is a torch. That's why my party used the torch as my party logo, because we believe in the truth. The truth is like the torch. It's like the wisdom of fire, right? That will show you the path to the right path. The truthful right path. Truth never needs censorship to protect. But most of the time, you will need censorship to protect a lie. Right? So, beside, because Dr. Peter McCullough is actually not an oncologist, so he didn't touch about the cancer. I will touch about the cancer issue in my next talk, right? Because talking about this censorship, it's scandalous that the very first research paper that has shown the causation of the spike protein, whether it's from COVID infection or whether it's from vaccination. Especially vaccination is more direct. Right? The spike protein actually may cause a suppression of the anti-cancer protein called the P53. Right? The body have a natural cancer fighter. It's called P53 protein. Right? Any tumor that comes about, it will actually fight the tumor and prevent it from developing. It's our natural immunity. But it was found that the spike proteins itself, whether it's from COVID infection or whether it's from vaccine, will actually suppress this protein. And this enlightened us, actually. This was found very early. I think it's 2021 or 2022. Right? 2022. 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. It's a very important finding because if you have known earlier, it will set out the signals and people should be more mindful about what they're taking, and establishment should actually pause all vaccination. Right? But the scandalous part is the fact checkers, so-called, financed by the big pharma, protested and pressure one of the authors, is a co-author, to actually withdraw these findings, this research paper. Right? This paper is actually peer reviewed. They suppress such finding back then. Right? The other author is very upset, a lady, I think, a scientist. She fought all the way. And through some investigative journalism, they forced the truth to be out. It was suppressed due to pressure, political pressure, more. So when politics get into the way, like the WHO, you will not have the truth. What did the chief of the WHO say? Wow, we need to be strategized and more aggressive against anti-vaxxers like us. We seems to be a monster, while we did not cause any harm to anyone. Right? And the fact is, I have said in my previous post, this particular finding was confirmed again by the Brown University, a very world-renowned oncologist and researcher in Brown University, that the spike protein did suppress the P53 tumor anti-tumor proteins from our body. And that could explain why we suddenly see people have turbo cancer. Turbo cancer is For example, right? Cervical cancer, the women, the womb. Normally, such cancer develop very slowly, right? It takes years before you come to stage 4. But now people are finding that suddenly, within months, it's already stage 4. Certain cancer have never seen such rapid development. And many people wonder why it happens. Right? And that was a finding. It was confirmed by the latest finding. As I said, right? 不怕死的哈 I put up again, PAP, don't be people's acting party. Get your ministers and MPs all go and take your latest jab. It's not that I want any harm on you. I want you to rethink. If you are not considering to take your next jab, why are you allowing MOH to ask other people to take another jab? Right? I don't have a bad heart. People with high spirituality would not do such thing. But this is out of desperation. Right? This is a bit out of my practice, right? My religious practice. I should not do any harm to anyone. But it is very frustrating. People's acting party. Now, what happened in Malaysia is this. They are suing. Right? They are suing, right? I've shown you they are suing, right? And why are they suing? Because they see a lot of vaccine harm. People are actually enraged. There's another video on the Philippines House of Representatives debating about that. I do not want to put it up here, right? Whether it's in Japan, right? Japan is also making noise, okay? Definitely. The whole Asia, the Japanese making noise, right? Uprising. The Malaysian have an exhibit of this. Right? This is an exhibit of 300 obituary of nurses that were suspected to have died from the vaccination, the COVID vaccination. And they are asking MOH, the Ministry of Health in Malaysia, to own up, to take responsibility. Right? I think I put up, have I shown you what is happening in Malaysia? Right? No, in Japanese. The very first Japanese politician has apologized. He was actually a former minister's communication, I think. He apologized when he go around Japan, he saw those vaccine injured. And Japan recognized quite a number of deaths from vaccination. Right? And you know what he says? This actually resonates what I've heard from my grouping, because some of them are researchers, they know what is happening. Right? He said, initially, he proposed the use of the ivermectin, because ivermectin, they are very proud because it was discovered, created by the Japanese expert many years ago. as an early treatment protocol, but it was rejected. And the reason that he gave was, most of those politicians find that it's too cheap. Too cheap. Why you bother whether it's cheap or not? As long as it can cure or really act as an effective early treatment protocol. They said because no money to be earned from. And this is exactly the same thing I heard in my group discussion. One of them who knows researchers in cancer. So this good friend of his in cancer research says that he did a research and found that a certain component, a certain herbs or certain things can actually effectively prevent or cure certain cancers. He submitted his research papers up. For many months, he did not get any response, and he would go and ask the supervisor. The supervisor told him, well, your research is good, but the treatment is too cheap, cannot be patented lah. And it will affect the current medicine that is using, that was earning money. I will say, oh, this is a total corruption of the pharmaceutical industry. They have no spirituality in them. They have no spiritual. They're out for doing all this for money, but not for the benefits of humankind. Right? And I said, I always look at this graph. I stare at it for a long time. For people who are in the health industry, in the health ministry, how do you sleep at night without paying attention on what is happening? But constantly trying to counter critics like me. I'm not even talking about politics here. I'm talking about the welfare of the people. You should stop the vaccination because of this excess death. And that's exactly what Peter McCullough has said. It should be stopped simply because of the excess death. Because US also facing excess death problems. Right? Well, I don't know about you. Every time I want to end up with this. I think Einstein is wrong this time around. After I've gone through all this, right? Why is it wrong? It seems that it's not human stupidity that's infinite. It's actually human greed that is infinite. Right? Human greed. And what do we earn for people who are so-called labeled as or smell as anti-vaxxer like me? What can we earn from it? I don't sell Lianhua Qingwen. I don't import Lianhua Qingwen. I'm not the distributor wholesaler of Lianhua Qingwen. Right? I have nothing in it. Right? And thus, I do not think Einstein is right, but rather Martin Luther King is right. The most dangerous thing is not anti-vaxxers. Like the WHO or like Lawrence Wong have said, we are the dangerous tribe. We are not the dangerous one. We kill nobody. It has proven that COVID have a low mortality rate. Less than 1% in Singapore died because of COVID infection. Right? Who is the more dangerous one? Those with sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. And I should add, infinite greed. Thank you for watching. And as I said, We need all the donation. Please support our effort. Thank you.